Welcome to this episode of Enrich the World. I'm sitting here with David Billy, and I'm excited, David, to have this interview with you today.
I'm glad you're excited, because I'm excited too.
Great, nice. This is also the first episode of Beyondfit.
Yes, helping people prioritize their health, because I believe that without good health, we literally have nothing. So I hope with this, we can get more people taking care of themselves.
Nice.
Yeah.
David, tell me a little bit. Who are you and where do you come from?
Do we have time? It's a long story.
We're going to have to make time.
I'll keep it short. First, thank you for this opportunity to be here doing this podcast, because as I told you earlier, I was pretty much reluctant on doing this because, let's say I'm not really good at talking about myself, and I don't think that's fun for me to do. But as you insisted, it might have some value, so here we are. Where I come from, I was born in Tanzania, in a small town called Arusha. Grew up in Namibia and Kenya as well. Having a family of 4 siblings, so I've got a brother and 2 sisters. I'm the youngest one, actually. And I would say we kind of came from a lower middle class family. We didn't have a lot, but we had the basics: education, food, a roof on top of our head, love, father and mother. My parents worked really hard, especially my mom, I remember. She used to work 2 jobs, literally, to make sure she can take care of us. My dad as well. And I guess that's where I got also my mentality for work ethic. My mother taught me 2 things, which are very important. And that is faith without work is nothing. And it's a verse in the Bible, James 2:14, if I'm not making a mistake. Maybe it's right here.
It's right here.
Yeah, the book of life. Faith without works is dead. It basically means whatever you're believing in, the desires, the goals that you're aspiring to have, you still need to do the work to take action to actually make them come to pass. And as a matter of fact, actually doing the work, taking action without knowing what the outcome is, that is itself a representation of faith. The second thing he taught me, which I still keep to this day, is never give up. Even when things are not working in your favor, in your way. The reason for that is because all work works. Because if it's not working for you, it's working on you. And you need to make sure that you keep doing it long enough that it keeps working on you until you become that person that it starts working for you. So never giving up is something I really stand for.
Cool.
Yeah.
Which we're going to hear more about in this whole story.
It's all about that, nothing else.
It's all about that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So tell me, David, what kind of kid were you growing up?
I think I remember being a kid, I was, chubby, very nerdy, used to wear glasses. I wasn't the popular bunch in school. I guess I lacked self-esteem, self-confidence. If I could put it in terms, then I felt like a nobody, in a way. I was bullied at school as well.
How did you react to that back then?
Well, I didn't know how to react to it because I didn't understand why would anybody do that in the first place. Why would anybody not treat you appropriately? And I guess knowing now, I see why. When other people have certain insecurities about themselves, they will project that to other people. And now I understand it. So if I put things into perspective, literally means that everybody has a problem. But the way to sort it out is not to project it to other people. It's to look into yourself and to work in yourself. So coming back to growing up, when I grew up in Tanzania, we moved to Namibia. And Namibia is where I did my high school, primary school, high school. I'm pretty bad with timing and years and stuff. But I remember during this time, I met my buddy, Christoph. And the reason why we got along really well, like they say, birds of a feather flock together, is that we were basically the same kind of person. Low esteem, don't have much confidence about each other, or rather in ourselves. We were both chubby, a little bit nerdy, quiet, introverts as well. So it was easy to get along. And I remember we used to hang out after school because he was my neighbor, and would look at fitness magazines. Then they were like really popular, seeing all these athletes and muscular guys eating lots of protein shakes and creatine and stuff like that. And that was, we kind of adored the images because they were nothing like us. And we thought, if you want to feel good, great, better, that's how you need to look like, you know? So we started reading the magazines, getting information, looking at exercises, nutrition and stuff. We had days we'd eat like 1.5 chickens a day because protein is important, right? If you want to build muscle. And we thought, hey, let's join a gym, which luckily there was one in the neighborhood, a small one, pretty basic. And we thought we're going to use the magazines to get information, and we're going to go to the gym, and we're going to try and lose weight, take the belly away, and see if we can look better, almost trying to imitate the images on, you know, in the magazine.
Which one of you came up with this idea?
I think it was kind of both of us, because it was really a long time ago. I remember that just because we were both insecure about ourselves and we knew that we had to change our physiology in order to feel better, it was very superficial then, you know? And all the other kids at school were like playing football, rugby and everything. They looked fit. So we thought, and they were then popular. So we thought if we do that, we'll get the same kind of, you know, reciprocal sort of fame. So it was a kind of a dual decision. And we got along well because, I mean, we had the same issues. So we ended up going to the gym, working out. And then I realized after a couple of weeks, months came through, maybe it was like 3 months or 6 months or something, started losing weight. And then I realized it had nothing to do with the superficial aspects of me or him either. It wasn't about the weight anymore. It was, I started realizing, hey, I just managed to create a goal and I'm actually now achieving it. I managed to become more self-confident because I said I would do something and I did it and I can tick it off. That's like giving myself a sort of building a mindset, but also letting myself know that I am reliable to myself. Mm-hmm. I can accomplish something. And then there was the feeling of just feeling good, happy, endorphins, serotonins, dopamine. I didn't know those terms then, you know, but now I understand it. And since then, I started realizing that I was not exercising to look better. I was exercising to work on myself. And working on myself meant becoming, not being, staying who I was, but becoming a better person. And until today, I still tell people that fitness is a school of life. Because in life, you'll go through challenges. You'll go through tribulations, problems, obstacles. And you need to prepare yourself ahead of time because they'll keep coming. And the most important thing is that through fitness, through gym, you will learn how to build self-confidence. You will learn how to understand delayed gratification because everything you try and do will take time. You will learn to set goals. You will learn to cultivate and get stronger and build resilience and have a good mindset. And I think all those elements just relate to real life itself. And therefore, when life happens, you're like, it's all good. I'm set up. I'm prepared. And I think that's what people should use fitness for because that helped me. And I thought if that could change me so much, more people need to experience that as well. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Why were you being bullied at school?
I guess it could be because I wasn't in the popular group doing sports, fitness, and everything then. I didn't really see the point of it. I was more nerdy and stuff. And partly also, I think I had slight issues with communication. What most people don't know is that I used to stutter, like big time. So I knew I had the words in my mind, and I knew the sentence in full, what I wanted to say, but I couldn't cognitively conceptualize how to put those words into sound, to articulate them. And I didn't understand why, basically. So I guess...
Did you always have this? Or did it arrive at some point, do you know?
It arrived at some point, and I don't understand where it started, how it started. I don't know the age either, because I'm pretty bad with time and time frame. But I just know that I had difficulty expressing myself or saying things. So therefore, I was also, that's one of the reasons why I was also an introvert. Not very social, not very open, because then I would have to construct myself really well with words and sentences, and then work myself up to make sure I can articulate and bring sound and bring it across to somebody. And that was just too much work. It was easier to just say, oh, never mind, I'll just sit there in the corner and do my thing.
But that does a whole lot to your whole being, right?
That, yes.
Personality, being, feeling, self.
Personality, being, keeping everything to yourself, of course, as well. Yeah.
But also, that kind of character, when you're actually not just talking and not just out there and not just doing your thing, when you're actually keeping quiet, I think there's also a part of that which actually makes you see the world. Like, you're much more observant of what is actually going on in the world, right? Because you're not always reacting. You're kind of like observing. I can imagine that that it has a lot of really good qualities also.
It makes sense, but it was actually, I didn't experience it that way. I was more in my mind.
And what does that mean when you're more in your mind?
Thinking, thoughts. I could be observing, I was observing, but I wasn't present while observing. I was in my head because I was simply in my head in a battle with the fact that I want to say something, but I can't. So I was in my head trying to put it together. How do I say it? And then that's when you feel shy. Then you don't express yourself. You keep it to yourself. But it's all in your head, basically. So I was busy in my thoughts, actually.
Yeah, and I can also imagine it's not a choice. Like if it would be a choice, it might be different. Eh?
Exactly.
Like I choose now to be quiet and just watch what's going on. Yeah, okay.
And I realized the part you said just now about being observant, because I spoke less, that came later when I got older, because then I started to understand myself. And then the observation aspect came in. But that took a while. Yeah.
But you're not stuttering anymore, though.
No.
What happened?
I'm becoming a different person.
So it was like just slowly you were...
No. Then I actually lost weight. I had a six-pack for the first time in my life. I was confident. Felt pretty good about myself. I was starting to become slightly popular. Quite a few people got to know me, which is really weird because wasn't my intention. But I guess because of how you carry yourself physiologically, because of how you feel inside, you express that outside to people, and people then pick it up. Because they say people don't see you the way they see you the way you see yourself. So once you start seeing yourself more confident, that's what they pick up as well. So that's what I noticed, and I thought, man, I need more of this stuff, you know? And what happened is it led me to deciding to go into fitness as a career, trying to learn more about exercise, nutrition. But at some point I realized that it wasn't my calling, but that's like a future thought. So let me get back to where we are. I started working in gyms, in fitness centers. Then I worked at, I think it was called Virgin Health Club or Virgin Active.
Where are we now in the world at this point?
We're still in Namibia.
Okay.
Yeah. Virgin Health Club or Virgin Active. Very famous, big, huge, by Richard Branson. He owns like hundreds of them. And that's where I actually got to experience working with people, being a fitness instructor, doing personal training, doing spinning sessions, figuring out nutrition, basically just being in the environment, being exposed and becoming the person that I then thought I'd like to become. And from there, I remember one of my managers said, Dave, you look like you're really enjoying this, because there was a moment that I sat down with him and I told him that I wasn't fully, I wasn't fully satisfied or fulfilled with what I was doing, just being at the gym and doing fitness instructing. Not that it's a bad thing, but I felt like I had a bigger calling, basically. And he told me, why don't you try do something with rehabilitation, like physiotherapy and stuff. Then I had no clue what physiotherapy meant. So I started doing search everywhere, and I found a couple of schools, colleges in different places. And I applied for a physiotherapy study, a bachelor's degree. And I remember, I applied in the States, North Carolina, I think Germany as well, South Africa, and Canada, I think as well, a few other places, and Netherlands. And the first reaction that came through was Netherlands. So I thought, okay, I'm taking that one, you know?
Yeah.
But then again, I didn't really have any money. So I had no clue how I was going to do the study, fly to the country, and become a physiotherapist. But that's when faith comes in. Doing something, taking action, even though you don't know what the outcome would be. But as soon as you start taking action, things start falling in place. And when I got the application and I was accepted to go, I managed to get some funds from family, friends, relatives, and then it was a green light. So I ended up flying to Amsterdam, looking for a place to stay. I remember staying in Heerhugowaard. I'm actually surprised I can pronounce that well, if it's correct.
If it's well.
If it's
I would know, I'm Danish.
You know?
It sounds good.
If it's correct.
Yeah.
And I used to travel, I think, 1.5 hours to school and back. It was a 3-year course, Bachelor of Science in Physiotherapy. It was supposed to be 4, but the international version is 3 for the sake of, then you can save money, of course. So you're doing like a crash course. Managed to finish it, graduated, and then realized, now, how do I start working as a physiotherapist? Because I've got the information, the knowledge, and the wisdom, but how do you start? But what really happened is immediately after my degree, I got a letter from the immigration office telling me I had to leave the country in 28 days. Well, because
your study was finished, so...
You came to study, you're done, get out. You know? So,
That's so crazy.
I know.
That's so crazy.
So I was sitting there thinking, I was actually in panic. I thought, what the hell? You know? But I took it as it is. And I remember looking for a couple of friends from school who were also foreigners, and they had immigration lawyers helping them with stuff. So I had a connection there. And I got somebody who was able to help me. And her advice, one of the lawyers, she said, the best thing you can do is to register your own business and start a company. That's the best solution. But employment then, I think it was 2008 when I graduated. So then it was like really hectic and almost impossible to have an employer to employ me because I was not the first priority, of course. So
You're saying, of course, why were you not the first priority?
that's because there were also people from the Netherlands who could speak Dutch, who were qualified, who could easily just get in, who don't need the whole process of application for the permit, with the immigration and all this stuff, they could just start immediately. So you'd have to have had a very compassionate employer who's willing to do the whole process, all the work, just for you. And that was a challenge then. And I didn't have that much time to, for that process. So the easiest, quickest method was actually register a business, and I called it then Billy's Physio. And I remember I used to gym in a small gym in Amsterdam West, and I went to ask the owner then if I could rent one of the rooms, which was empty, really small room, was about 10 square meters or something, if I could start working there as a physiotherapist. He was good with it, got the application, everything done, and I started my journey as a physiotherapist. I think I was 24, no clue about starting a business. But I figured, where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to really get something done, if you really want to get something done.
You remembered your mom?
Remember my mom, never give up. Faith works. And yeah, from there, everything just started flowing slowly, building into Billy's Physio as a practice. And then again, going back to my character, which is, I think it took me about 2 years or 3 years or something working as a physiotherapist, and then again feeling unfulfilled. Like, is this it? And I don't know why, but having read the Bible now, I kind of understand a little bit, because I start to understand how life is orchestrated, put together for a reason. And I think it's difficult for people who don't believe in Christ or in God to put that together. That's a different story. But in my situation, I can see how things are building up from one thing to the next, And I can almost draw a line, because it seems as though there's an assignment at the end, and I need to accomplish it. And I need to be taken through all this processing, all these challenges, all these tribulations, to be able to become that person to do the thing that has already prepared for me. And that thing, I know, in a way, it started from a vision that I had maybe when I was 16, me saying, I would like to have my own gym. I didn't know what it's going to be like. It's going to be just fitness or health, whatever. That was when I was 16. And then I see now the orchestration of the story, how everything is happening and working together for my good, in spite of the obstacles you're going through. And I remember that at some point I sat down and I thought, couldn't God just give me a break?
That's fantastic. I love that quote. Couldn't God just give me
a
break? No.
When am I just going to chill and just let things happen?
And what was the answer
in my
you came
favor?
with? What was the answer you came with?
The answer I came with was that there's actually a verse in the Bible about that. I can't remember it now, since there's so many of them. But what I remember is that now I know that his plans are bigger than mine. And how I was looking at it is thinking that my plans are big enough already, but they're not. And for me to be ready, I had to go through this whole process of being trained, being stripped of the things that don't benefit me, stop being and grow to becoming. And by becoming, I mean in a holistic way, everything that I should be.
So what was missing? So you were there having your gym for 2-3 years. What was the next step?
The next step was me being dissatisfied. I realized I can only help people in a very local way. As a physiotherapist, I can fix your shoulder, your knee, or your lower back. My problem solving was very localized and very short span in a way, is that I could, if you came in with an injury, a knee, lower back problem, or neck or shoulder, is that all I was doing was really just fixing that. But I wasn't really changing you as a person, influencing you to work on yourself, to become healthier, to find self-worth, and to care for yourself. So I realized people that I was seeing as patients had more things that I could help them with, but I didn't have the capacity or the expertise then to do that. But that was my innate desire at that point.
So you on to the next thing.
So I'm on to the next thing. Got tired of working in that 10 square meter room in a gym as a physiotherapist, and now I'm thinking, I have a bigger assignment. I've got more purpose. I can help more people. I can make more difference in people's lives. And then, for some reason, the vision which I had 16 years ago about owning my own gym came to play. And again, I didn't know where to get started, where to get the money, and how to start a gym. But everything really just happened. Like I said before, again, kind of felt it was orchestrated, put together.
Yeah, because there's also something. You are in this gym having these thoughts. And then sometimes when we do not do immediately the right step, the next step, then something from the outside happens, right? Which also I think happened here. He had to close, right?
Yes, eventually that happened. But it wasn't, yes, so that's the orchestration, the part where you see things fall into place. But even then, I didn't know that when I was working in there. It came later when I realized I really want to own my own gym, and then something fell into place. And that's when I heard that the owner of the gym was closing because he was getting bankrupt, basically.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is my chance to take over and to finally fulfill that vision I had 16 years ago. But then I thought, how, where, what, with who? How do I even get started? Because I didn't have the funds again, the finances. But I managed to actually do quite a lot of research and got some help from friends and found out that I could actually do crowdfunding, get investors. So I set that up with the video, everything, explaining my vision, my plan and everything. And I was able to get some funds from the crowdfunding, investors, and partly from the bank as well, to be able to come in, buy out, or rather to take over the gym, renovate it, and start my new place, my new vision,
Great.
which is Go Concept.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So from there, it's probably all been rolling, right?
For about 3 years, yes. For about 3 years, Go Concept operated really well.
Go Concept. Can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that? What is that?
And it stands for Goal-Oriented Health Concept, basically. What we did was focusing on personal training, nutrition coaching, small group sessions, mindset coaching as well, and physiotherapy. So I was, like the vision again, I was trying to build a holistic atmosphere, environment, where people can get all the help they need in order to be able to get support in prioritizing their health. So that was the idea.
What does holistic actually mean? What does that stand for?
That's a good question. In my perspective, I would say, for me, it stands for being physically fit, emotionally fit, mentally fit, and spiritually fit.
How can you be spiritually fit?
I could almost say if you're not spiritually fit, you're not complete. Because you're missing the most essence and innate desire of who you actually really are, which is where your self-worth comes from, your identity comes from, and your moral values come from, your integrity comes from. Everything that you think is very important about you comes from that. And how do you build spiritual fitness? That's a very difficult question. It's a journey. I took mine when I started opening the Bible, reading from Genesis. Genesis is like really an amazing book, the beginning. It's almost like God said, if you don't get through all the other books in the Bible, if you just read this one, you'll be all right. So he put all the information, everything you need to understand your worth and who you are in there first. And I would say reading the Bible is probably the most profound thing I've ever done that got me to become the person that I am today. Yeah.
Can you just start that part with telling me how it was to actually be walking into your own gym? Because this was your dream from you were 16. Like,
I could, how it felt to walking into Go Concept, my own gym. I could give you the perspective I had then, because the perspective I have now is totally different. The perspective I had then was proud, confident. I managed to achieve all this. Notice I'm saying I managed to achieve all this. There was a sense of arrogance in there. Look what I've accomplished. Look who I am. Sort of identifying myself a little bit with the things I've achieved. Materialistic. It felt good then. Business is going well. 3 years later, a few of the investors from crowdfunding decided to pull their money back, to request the money back, and they wanted so much. It was so much of an amount that I wasn't able to provide, basically, after 3 years of just starting a company. And unfortunately, their decision was they will go to court and declare the business bankrupt.
wow.
Yeah, which they did. And I think it took like a few days later, and I got a phone call from the curator saying, I'm coming to shut your business down. Close doors, walk away, everybody fired.
Wow. What happened to you?
Then everything happened so fast. I mean, I was in court for 10 minutes. It was over. A day later, the curator called. So there wasn't even time to reflect, to think about it. It was more like, what the hell happened? You know, it was more of a shock, actually. Because suddenly I lost everything. I didn't have money to take care of my family. I didn't have a job. I would say that would be the point whereby every man would break. Yeah.
Based on what would a man break?
Based on the idea that a man is built for purpose, to protect, to provide. Those are the elements that really, and respect. Those are the main elements that actually define the worth of a man. And when those things are taken away, if your your respect is gone, if you can't provide and if you can't protect, basically at that moment you're low on the ground and you feel worthless.
So at this point you are low on the ground.
At this point I'm low on the ground.
What were you thinking? What was going through your mind? What was
I knew
feeling even? Maybe I don't know if you were even thinking at this point, or you were.
There was feeling wise. There was a sense of anger.
Oh yeah.
Why would this happen to me? I put all my sweat for so long to get this accomplished, and here I am. And if you notice how I say that statement, it's talking about me again. I am. Yeah. Was really concerned about me. But I met, luckily, one of my friends, Quincy. He's now a pastor. And I told him the story. I don't know if he even remembers this, whether he said this to me like consciously, or was he just mentioning something, like a quick gesture. He said, Dave, you should get on your knees and pray. That's what he told me. So I remember that day. I mean, I was already so low, it was just easy to just put my knees on the ground. I was already down there.
You were already halfway down there.
I was already down there. I might as well just yield,
Yeah.
So I was there, and I remember praying, and I hadn't done that for a long time.
When was the last time that you prayed?
I think it was when I was in Namibia going to church with my parents. I grew up going to church every Sunday with my parents. And then being a teenager, it felt like a routine, something I had to do. And I remember going a little bit against it.
Didn't make sense back then?
It didn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
But now, in hindsight, I understand why my mom took me there. Because she was trying to instill some certain values that would profoundly help me in the future. Now I see it. It took a while. Now I see it. So I fell on my knees, prayed. I prayed for strength. I remember. I prayed for knowledge. I prayed for wisdom. And the most important thing is I prayed for help. And it felt like this was the first time that I realized life wasn't about me and my achievements and who I am and what I've done, what I've accomplished. Because you could lose all that in 10 minutes. All your work you've done in 10 minutes. It's almost like God was giving me I don't know if it's a sign.
Sign, yeah, I would say.
And
it's a sign of the whole power of everything, I guess, right?
yeah. Like, you are nothing. Literally.
And then again, you are, right?
And
like,
then again,
you realize that
And then again, you are, but not because of yourself.
No.
Through me, him. And that's when I woke up and realized it was not all about me.
What? Okay, so you're on your knees, you're praying for help, you're praying for forgiveness, I was about to say, but
100% forgiveness. I've done some shitty stuff as well.
So you're on your knees, and so then what happened? In what way came the help, signs, your inner strength? How did you get to stand again?
Here's the weird part. It took me one day to whine, complain, and feel shitty about my situation. The next day, I was up and running. So I didn't even have time to get depressed, literally. And I remember a couple of friends told me, Dave, you should go see a therapist or somebody to help you, or coach to talk about this, because it's really a big impact in your life. It has caused a lot of damage in you as a person. And that wasn't even in my head. I was like, this is not the time I need a therapist. I need to get up and get things done.
So you knew what to do, though?
I knew what to do.
Okay.
I got up and I knew exactly what to do.
Okay. Which you didn't when you kneeled down, right?
Yeah.
You didn't know that the minute you kneeled down, you were lost. And the minute you kneeled down and you started praying, you got sign, you got input, I
got a revelation.
Clarity. Okay.
Clarity, revelation, and I got strength. Mm-hmm. That I thought I wouldn't have been able to have by myself. Because when life hits you down so bad, and I mean, there's more things that happened, but we would be here for like another 3 hours, you know? Mm-hmm. So there's more tribulations, more challenges that happened. Mm-hmm. Like separation of my family, my partner, and stuff like that. A lot of things happened. But the kneeling down and me being able to get up and having the desire, the strength, the power to be able to go again and take action, that's not my strength, 100%. And what happened is, from nowhere, all I did was communicate, talk to people, and I had a limited amount of time because this was December. November, I got bankrupt. December, it was 2019. And I had 3 weeks to make sure I can get enough money, capital, to start the business, because I got a letter from the curator telling me there's a possibility for a restart. Out of the blue, there's a possibility for a restart. And this is after he went for holiday. He went for holiday to Spain for a week. And then he came back and said, Dave, I've got an idea for you. There's a possibility for a restart, but you need this amount of money to buy the company back from the curator and from the court, and then you can start your business again. But you can't start in the same name. You'd have to start with a different name, totally. But you have 3 weeks, and then I'm going to have to shut everything down, and it's over. So in those 3 weeks, I was hustling, up and down. I don't think I slept.
When you're saying hustling, what do you mean with hustling?
Like I said, I don't think I slept. That's what it is.
It's on and on and on.
I was on and on, taking action. I was just taking action. I was calling everybody I knew. I was talking to my previous old clients if they want to come back. I was trying to figure out from family who's got some saved up money somewhere on the side that they don't mind, helping me out. I was all over the place. And the funny thing is, I found out that there was somebody who had exactly this amount I needed to buy the company back. And she was willing to give it. And she did. And I got a restart. And I started the business from scratch again. And then it was a different name because I had to give a totally different name.
What's the name?
Notice I left some suspense there for you to ask.
Yeah.
The name is Beyondfit.
Which suits exactly the whole story, I think.
Yeah.
Beyond Fit.
It's Beyondfit. And why Beyondfit? Like you said, it suits the whole story. It builds the narrative to everything that I've been through and what I had to do to overcome, basically. So being fit is just not enough anymore. You have to be beyond to be able to overcome the life's challenges. And as one of the most known mentors said, Les Brown, that's his name. I don't know if he's still alive, but Les Brown said, in life, you're either coming out of a problem, in a problem, or getting out of one. So you're always in problems.
You're always dealing with problems.
You're always dealing with problems.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what a better way to be able to prepare yourself ahead of time of the challenges in life with first prioritizing your health as the most important thing. Because if you're healthy, if you're fit, holistically, like I said, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally fit, nothing can stop you. And that is why I named the business Beyondfit. And it's not a noun, it's a verb, which means it's something you can actually become, something you can work yourself into and become that person.
So you managed to buy it back, reopen it as Beyondfit.
Correct?
And since then, it's been rolling, I guess, right?
Well, no, just like the previous story, no. It's, we opened, the whole process was happening in December 2019. Then I managed to get the capital to open the gym, to restart and start looking for my old clients to bring them back again. so I can actually have a business. And I think the first opening was January 2nd or 3rd, 2020. That's when officially opened and started operating again. And I remember I had to start everything from scratch. It was me, myself, and I, literally doing everything.
And
and of course,
or
got involved. But it wasn't that long. 3 months later, the whole COVID pandemic situation occurred.
wow.
And businesses, gyms were being closed. So we were one of them. So we went through the whole challenge again of going through closing and opening, losing clients. And to be honest, for some reason, I had no fear at all. I was so confident starting it, running it, closing and opening, adapting to situation, going for the boot camps outside, doing online. I was just doing it. There was no fear of something wrong might happen or whatever. Not at all.
So you were thinking in possibilities, eh? So
Yes.
were you at any point in this process also on your knees praying, or was it the same thing but maybe not on your knees?
Well, through that period, I was praying throughout. I mean, after the bankruptcy of Go Concept and the restart, when I started praying, prayer has been like my morning routine.
Beautiful.
I don't get out of bed until I've read a few lines or a page or 2 pages of the Bible, because it takes so long. You kind of have to do it every day in small steps. Otherwise, you never finish it. And prayer. That's the first thing I do every morning. If I can't fit it in the morning, I'll fit it in the evening. But it needs to be done.
And that gives you kind of like a grounding of whatever happens. It's the reminder, right? Like, I'm not in this alone. And
Yes, it's the reminder that you're not doing life alone. That's very important. You're not doing life alone. And also, it just grounds you, like what you said. And there's so many stories in the Bible that are so inspiring that you see what people have gone through. It's not like we're only going through trials and tribulation now. People are going through that stuff then as well. And the stories are in there, and you see them suffering and going through everything, but they still get up. And they're getting up because of faith. So I hope that with this information, people get to realize that time is of the essence. It's very important. And that if where you are right now is not satisfying you, and you feel like you're just being instead of becoming, which is our whole mission in life, to work on ourselves, the right time is now to take action, to become more than who you are every single day and never stopping.
how do we know what that is? How do we know which steps to take? No, not which steps, which direction. Because obviously if I understand you right, we're always moving toward the bigger part of us, right? The next.
Hopefully, because that's where you're aligning your spirit with. Your desires.
So how do you align your spirit with that?
It's more focus on the good. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to, I'll probably try to give a quick analogy, if I can put it together. Have you ever tried to do something, or somebody invites you to go somewhere, to a party or whatever, and there's this innate kind of communication where you're fighting against the idea of actually going? It's not just easily say, okay, I'll go, I'm excited, I want to go. But there's something stopping you and saying not to go, your intuition, your gut feeling. That is your innate, I would say, person speaking with you, telling you what's right and what's wrong. Basically, it does that because whatever action you're going to take is not congruent with the spirit in you, with the person you should be becoming.
But when do you know that that feeling, because it can either be coming from fear or it can be coming from not meant for you?
Yes. Then, and if you're not sure, because we've been fed with so much information, it becomes confusing to even understand who we are and whether the decisions we make for ourselves are good enough, because everybody else has something to say, an opinion, and it's difficult for us to trust our own perspective, our own decisions. That's when faith comes in. You go back, you pray, and you ask, you shall receive.
So you're asking for advice, basically.
You ask,
or direction, right? You're asking.
You ask for advice. You ask for direction. Yeah. You ask for wisdom. You ask for knowledge. You ask for understanding. And if you do it
so
long
it's
enough,
basically just, it's actually, or basically, it's not that basic, but it's actually letting know that, or feeding into, I don't know everything.
amen to that.
I'm open for more knowledge, help, which is beyond
Your
what I
capacity.
can, my capacity at the moment.
Yeah. That is, in simple words, that's yielding to God. Yielding to your Creator.
Yielding. Wow,
Yielding.
that's a beautiful word.
You're surrendering. You're saying,
Surrender.
I'm not all that I think that I am, and I do not know everything that I think that I know. I'm limited. My capacity is limited. I yield to you to give me direction. And there's a pretty cool, I need to throw this in there. There's a pretty cool verse in the Bible. I think it's Proverbs 3:5. It says, trust the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. With everything you do, everything,
Wow.
acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. That's it. Here I can drop the mic.
Yeah, it's that emoticon with the, the puppet.
That's it. I'm
dropping,
done.
dropping
Yeah,
the mic.
that's it. I can't say anymore. That's it.
That needs to be the end.
That's the end.
We can't say a word after
No.
that.
No.
Dot. So, David, after hearing this super inspiring story, what would be the takeaway that you would tell somebody, that you would give somebody?
I think the takeaway message would be people to put health as the number one priority. And when I say health, I want to be very crystal with that and say holistic. The physical aspect, the mental aspect, emotional aspect, and the spiritual aspect as well. It's a journey.
And what's the first step in that journey? Because it's big, what you're saying now, eh? The 4 parts. What could be the first step?
The first step is start small. And start small means start changing the person that is not happy looking in the mirror. Because when you look good, you'll feel good. That's number one, the physical aspect. But the physical aspect affects the mental aspect, which affects your emotional aspect. So I'll say, look after yourself, eat well, nutrition is important, exercise 3 to 4 times a week, get good rest, spend time with family and loved ones, be in a community that's supportive, that inspires you for who you are, as long as it's for the highest good. And I had to put that, the highest good, because not everything that people support each other for is for the highest good. And you only know the highest good when you've touched the spiritual aspect. Otherwise it's a subjective highest good. It's my highest good. It's hedonism. It's basically what society is going through right now. Moving further away from God.
If somebody wants to get in contact with you or with Beyondfit for help in any way, that be spiritually, physically, mentally, or emotionally, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, we have a website, www.beyondfit.nl. They can find us there.
And if somebody comes to you, what are they? Is there a kind of like an intake, or how do you? If somebody approach you, what's the next step you take from there?
Normally, what I do is somebody comes through to us. Is the first thing we do is we book in an hour of our time to actually get to know the person first and see what they've been through before, where they're at right now, and where they need to go. And then see what elements we need to implement to get them there. And you'd call that then, an intake. Yeah.
Cool. Great.
I think for me, if I had to reflect back and say, what would I have done differently, knowing what I know now? And this is like honest truth. I keep telling myself, I wish I would have started reading the Bible earlier. I wish. Because I read it for a year and it changed me as a person, like profoundly. It has so much wisdom, so much knowledge, so much understanding. And it's not a religious book. People really look at it as a religious book. I look at it more as a book of principles and precepts. It's a book that gives you guidelines on how to live life optimally.
I'm tuned into my higher being Lerge and what is supposed to be going on, and for taking the right steps that direction. David, thank you so much for your time, your story, with putting it out there with your whole being. From everywhere. From everywhere. The energy from everywhere. Super inspiring.
Thank you.
Calming. I'm really happy that you decided to actually share your story. I think it's very inspiring for people.
Yeah.
It's motivational. And we're looking forward to the next episode.
Yes, I'm pretty excited to bring a few of my members from Beyondfit and have them tell their story as well and see how prioritizing their health has changed their life and how they feel now as a person since they started in the journey where they're at now and where they see themselves in the future. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Till next time.
Till next time.